Hey everybody, welcome back. This is MGB with you. We're going to be talking about Week 11, and I also want to own up to last week, Week 10. I only went 500 with my advice, which is terrible for me. For the paid experts on Yahoo and NFL and on ESPN, 500 they would kill for a 500 week on their advice, but not me. I owe it to you guys to be better than that. So let's say even after a bad week, I'm still on the season for my advice. 53 winners, 18 losers, and 13 that were just so-so. I call them draws. To put that in perspective, one of the paid fantasy experts on Yahoo the previous week had 13 losses for the week. I have 18 for the season, and I pick almost as many as they do. But when he's getting 5 wins and 13 losses or whatever it is, that's pretty pathetic. And never would I have a day like that. Like even this, I was 500 and I thought it was terrible, and I felt bad that some of you may have started some of the guys that sucked. So let's talk about that first. Here's where I own up to my mistakes. 3 really glaring ones. I'm going to start with Buffalo. Buffalo had 15 interceptions coming into the game. Tony Romo can definitely throw interceptions. They've had red zone problems. Miles Austin was hurt. Earlier in the week, Tony Romo said something to the effect of how he was happy that they now had a top-tier running back that they could lean on. Given all that information, it sounded to me as though Romo was basically saying, I'm going to be a game manager this week, and we're going to control the clock. I thought that's what they were going to do, come out, try to keep the Bills' offense off the field, just pound the ball with Murray, which Murray still had a great day, and they did give that ball to Murray a lot. He still had like 135 yards. Really good day. But Romo came out and was airing it out, and before the Bills could blink, he had thrown 3 touchdown passes. I think he finished with 270 yards and 3 TDs. So, I mean, he was getting you in the range of 26 to 28 points, something like that, which is fantastic. So, if you sat Romo on my advice, I apologize. I'm going to do better. But the Buffalo defense, again, let him march up and down the field, didn't pick off a pass. 15 interceptions coming into the game, and they couldn't pick off a pass. They couldn't sack the guy. They couldn't do anything. They stood there looking like dummies. It was pretty horrible. So screw you, Buffalo defense. That was terrible. Made me look bad. And then my other glaring loss was Josh Freeman. And I know they were playing a really stiff Texans defense, but here's what I thought. I was putting a little faith that Josh Freeman could still be the quarterback he was last year and a little bit the year before. I knew they would take away the run immediately. I told you sit LeGarrette Blount, and he had like, I don't know, 30 yards total from scrimmage. It was stupid. I hope you followed my advice on that one. Didn't start him. In fact, I predicted he'd have 40 yards. He didn't even have that. So it was pretty pathetic. I figured they would stop the Texans would stop the run and force Freeman to pass. And here's where the faith part came in. I thought Freeman would respond positively. Well, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, not so positive. Getting you less than double digits, and that's ridiculous. So if you started Josh Freeman, sorry again. So those are my 3 glaring ones. I had some wins too, but just talk about the losses because I want to own up to my mistakes. So this week we got to our last round of buys. There's some good teams on bye, some good quarterbacks, good running backs not playing this week, and some guys are getting hurt, man. Matt Schaub most likely out for the season. The Texans are only committing to out through week 12. They have a bye this coming week, but all indications are he's done for the season, which means Matt Leinart is taking over. Am I going to tell you to start Leinart? No. I mean, if Andre Johnson comes back, his value goes up marginally, but I still don't think Leinart's a great play, or even a good play, or even mediocre play in his first start, even if Johnson plays. So here's some guys that I do think, if you have one of the quarterbacks on bye, because we have Houston on bye, we have Indianapolis on bye, although I don't think anybody's going to have quarterback problems because of Indianapolis being on bye, which is weird to say. It's the first time I've been able to say that in the last decade. New Orleans is on bye. Pittsburgh's on bye, so no Roethlisberger, no Drew Brees, and no Schaub. So anyway, and also Michael Vick is injured. I think he's going to play, but even if he does play, sit him. I think this is going to be a horrible week for him. Here are some guys you should start. Now, I'm not saying start these. If you have Aaron Rodgers, these are guys you should start instead. I'm saying if you have one of those quarterbacks on bye, a guy on hurt, maybe someone who doesn't have a good matchup, like Andy Dalton has a terrible matchup. I don't even think Flacco. I think that whole game you should just avoid, but we'll talk about that later. If you have one of these quarterbacks with a bad matchup, here's some guys with favorable matchups. I'm just going to go list a few off. Carson Palmer should have a great day. I think Matt Moore, I'm starting to believe in this kid a little bit, at least against weak opponents, which, again, they've got. I think Alex Smith is someone you could look to if you're having quarterback issues. Some guys I think you're starting this week at running back. A guy I almost, and I know they were playing Baltimore last week. Seattle was. I almost advised starting Marshawn Lynch, but I cut him out before I did the little show here last week. I just thought, oh man, am I really? I just, the way he's sort of been heating up and he's been feeling good. He's been looking good. Baltimore, despite their defensive rankings and numbers, they have been giving up plays and yards to guys. And I almost told you to start Lynch. Well, this week I'm going to actually pull the trigger, and I'm going to tell you to start Marshawn Lynch. He should be in full beast mode. Like, I ain't ever seen that, though. You guys have seen the video. You know what I'm talking about. I think it was a good week for Jackie Battle, who's been so incredibly mediocre recently. I think that's a good one. I think, again, now at wide receiver, I think you're starting Brandon Marshall again. Now that there's a quarterback who can throw to him, I think he's a good play in most games going forward. Denarius Moore, man, I'm almost scared to pick one receiver in Oakland, just because it's like a carousel there, man. However, it looks as though Carson Palmer is really digging Denarius Moore. Start him. I think this is the week after a few poor weeks that Stevie Johnson's healthy. I think you're playing him. I think he's putting up a good amount of points. And in addition to that, feel free to start Ryan Fitzpatrick again. And a defense that I'm digging on this week, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just saying, I think it's playing the matchup. If you have that, if you're playing the Houston defense or the New Orleans defense or the Pittsburgh defense, a lot of guys don't carry a second defense until they have to pick one up. There's not a lot of defenses out there with all the really good ones being taken. But if you're going with matchups, I think Jacksonville this week against Cleveland. Cleveland's terrible especially with Hillis out, and every week it's like, oh, is Hillis going to play? And he hasn't played. I don't think Hillis is going to play at all. So those are all things you should start, in my opinion. Also, now here's things guys you're sitting. Some quarterbacks with bad matchups, man. I'm a big fan of Andy Dalton. Every week I recommend playing him for the most part. This week, not so much. I'm thinking you're sitting Andy Dalton. I'm thinking you're sitting Joe Flacco. Even if Michael Vick plays, sit him. As far as running backs go, Fred Jackson is, I don't know if I want to say sit him. It depends on who you have and your depth. But I'm just saying, I kind of want to call right now that he's going to be mediocre at best against that Miami defense, who's really fourth in the league, I believe, against fantasy running backs. So just be wary with Fred Jackson. If you're thinking, oh, should I start Fred Jackson or some other sort of third-ranked guy like a Mike Tolbert or although it's hard to sit Fred Jackson, I just don't know. Don't see him having a great day. I'm thinking he's going to be mediocre. I don't think he's going to be shitty. I don't think he's going to get you, Ryan Terrain points. But I think it's going to be pretty bad. And also the running backs in San Diego, it's going to be a tough week. Even Matthews plays that time split thing. I think Mike Tolbert gives them the best chance to win as the feature back. They're committed to Ryan Matthews though, so look for mediocre at best points from both. I mean, one or both may get in the end zone once, but I wouldn't expect more than 50 yards total from each one, not together, but I mean 50 yards from Tolbert, 50 yards from Matthews, one of them getting in the end zone, getting no more than 12 to 15 points, which isn't horrible for like a flex position or an RB2. But if you have better options, I know in one league I have ridiculous running backs just because all my top 5 or 6 picks I picked whatever the best running back was at that time. So I have this crazy running back situation. I mean, there are times I'm sitting guys like, now Ahmad Bradshaw's hurt, but I'm sitting Bradshaw or sitting, Sproles or Tolbert. These are all guys on my bench because I have Ray Rice, Darren McFadden, LaShawn McCoy, and Darren Sproles all on the same team. It's ridiculous. But I'm thinking I just see mediocre performances from San Diego's running backs. Okay, tell you what. Last week I was very, very mediocre, 500. Feel free to chastise me in the post here. It's cool. I got thick skin. I can take it. But I do challenge you to find someone who gives better advice and more accurate. Like, honestly, go watch ESPN. Go watch all of them. Anyway, until next week, this is MGB. I'll be talking to you.